Hello, Cultured Bumpkins. Welcome to the Cultured Bumpkin podcast. And today we have a guest, Alan Aldridge. He's a singer-songwriter, and we'll get into some of the other stuff he's involved with. But he's just a real artistic guy. We met in Columbus, and I love artistic people. And well, I'm sorry, my mic cut out here. Let me. I'm having a dickens of a time with my little thing. I'm gonna have to restart. Let's see.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. So Alan is a great artist, and thank you for coming on, Alan.
Man, thanks for having me, man, and the kind words. Man, we met at Monson and Brothers, and there was a band based out of New Orleans, and they were playing a house show at a place that we call the New House in Columbus. And they got in town early. It was around lunch. They weren't supposed to be there until late that night. And so they were asking the locals, where do people like us go in Columbus? And they said, oh, you better go to Monson and Brothers.
Nice.
That's where all the artists are. And so, man, just high praise to Ryan Munson and his vision to the garden and to the Trading Post, which now is a pizza joint / beer garden.
Exactly. Yeah. If to anybody, if you're ever traveling through Columbus or you're near Columbus, you gotta they've got amazing pizza, but it's just a great place to fellowship, hang out with people and meet other people. That's where we met. So
Yeah,
I go up
exactly.
there and edit audio. So I do an audio book or something, and I go up there and edit. And that's why I met you while I was working on, some editing one day. But, so tell us a little bit about where you're from and maybe your upbringing, your background.
Yeah, absolutely. The booming metropolis of Kennedy, Alabama. That's in Lamar County. Uh, Population a little over under probably 2,000, somewhere around there. No red lights, one barbershop, one general store, and plenty of churches to go around. There wasn't a whole lot to do in Kennedy, and so we made our own fun. And you know, s- like we had talked about on the episode I had you on my podcast on was it's all about sports. And so I remember when I picked that guitar up to begin to pursue something creative, and I walked away from the baseball team. All my teammates were like, uh, "No, dude, you play baseball. You do that in your bedroom."
That's awesome. How far is Kennedy from Columbus?
It's about 25 minutes. It's just
Okay.
across the
Right
state
over the
line.
line then. Okay.
Hmm.
Nice. So, you mentioned playing. What instruments do you play? What do you sing? You know what I mean? I know we'll get into this, but
Yeah, man, yeah. My main instrument is guitar and voice. I went to the University of Mobile. I had music as a minor for a time, and my instrument that I chose there was my voice. And I remember my roommate down there. While he was going to South Alabama, and I was going to the University of Mobile, and I had to declare an instrument for the major. And we were sitting over the dinner table one night. And he's like, "Man, what's going on with you?" And I was, "Man, I can't decide what instrument." And he was like, "You play guitar. You pick guitar." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's classical guitar, and I play by ear, and I don't know anything about that. I think I'm gonna do voice, and that way I can kind of learn, about the chest voice and the throat and nose and front of the mouth, back of the mouth, and probably some of the things that you learned like with voice acting, and just how control and posture and all the little things that nobody ever thinks about." And I've I recently picked up a banjo. Some big influences of mine when it comes to music. I noticed that they all had a similar play style on the guitar. And when I finally put it together, I was like, they're banjo players. They're approaching the guitar like a banjo. And I was like, if I'm going to learn how to play like them, I got to get a banjo.
Interesting.
And I'll play bass. I'm in a blues band, the Groove Johnson, which is currently active only one time a year. And that is for my music festival, Porch Fest, which will be at Munson Brothers on April 12th and 13th.
That's awesome. Okay, so I definitely want to get into that in a second. And first, let's see. So we got a comment. Mariah, hello. If you power down while we're in the middle of this, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. But Alan is like just an interesting, awesome dude, and I hope you enjoy hearing him for as long as you can. Also, okie dokie, dude, Jake, your beard. I know that we've gone over this on another live. It's the elephant in the room. Every time I come on live, I feel like I'm in a play. Last dress rehearsal tonight. I got 8 more days of performances starting tomorrow night, opening night, and then 9 days, and then I'll grow it back. So, yeah,
promise.
Exactly. I don't like being clean shaven. I said when I left the Army that I'm never doing this again unless forced to. I was forced to. So that's that.
Mm-hmm.
What we got? Well, yes, but what do you call it? It's coming back. So you mentioned Porch Fest. Can you talk about that real quick?
Absolutely, man. So my podcast, Porch Talk, informed Porch Fest. There was I entered NPR Tiny Desk, their concert series, and so it's a big nationwide contest. I don't know if you've ever watched NPR Tiny Desk, but I mean they have just some of the greatest talents of our time, and they'll go and play like an acoustic version. It'll be like a version of their hit, and they'll do 3 songs and it's over. And then once a year, they invite whomever. The only thing is you have to be indie. You can't be signed to a record label.
Okay.
And after you enter into the contest, they throw you into this Facebook group. And so about that time, man, I was just getting my bearings about me with Porch Talk and what it was going to be, because I had begun taking it off the porch, and I was beginning to interview creatives and musicians and people like that. And so this Facebook group was a godsend to me. And so I just, hey, my name is Alan, and I have this podcast called Porch Talk. If any of you would like to come in and share your story, we can do it by Skype, Zoom. We can do it by phone call, however you want to do it. And send me your music, and I'll share it at the end of the show. Well, a band called the Stiff Tones, at that time, they were on the south side of Chicago, and they travel the country in a hearse. That's how they tour. It's Sean and Rachel Steve, and they took me up on that. And I had them on Porch Talk a couple of times. And then Rachel hit me up, and she said, enough of this talking over the internet. We'd like to meet you. I was like, okay, what are you thinking? She says, well, we'll come to Alabama. We'll come to you. I was like, well, y'all are a band. I do house shows at my house here in Kennedy. Would you play for me and my friends? Then I thought about it for a second. I was like, I'll do you one better. How about I invite my music friends, and I've got a great backyard, and I've got this great back porch. That'll be our stage, and I'll invite everybody I know, and we'll just take turns playing for each other. And Porch Fest was born. And so we did that at my house in Kennedy for 3-4 years, and we would do it every spring. And the Stiff Tones would come down every year, wherever they were in the country. Sometimes it's New Hampshire, sometimes it's California, the Carolinas, just depending on wherever they are. But when April rolls around, they're in Alabama or Mississippi. And so
that's awesome.
This is our second year to throw it at Munson Brothers.
Okay.
And I'm really excited about that. I really can't think of a better venue for it at the moment. it does continue to grow. This year, I'm anticipating to have at least 2,500 people. It's a 2-day fest, and so maybe not all at once, but that's the goal that I set.
Okay. That is fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. That's really cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's similar to like, I believe like what you have going on here, like with the community that you're building online. And that was one thing that I kind of saw the podcast kind of do is you get a DM or a comment on a YouTube video, and all of a sudden, like these people in your comment section are beginning to find each other on social media and they're connecting.
Yeah.
And so I kind of saw this thing beginning to spider web a little bit. And I was like, we need to have some kind of a real world thing to where we can meet and just hang out.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
That's fantastic. So to your point, you mentioned indie artists and things like that, but why do you think that the arts are important?
Man, it says who we are as a culture. And I mean, I see it as in pockets of culture. If you take Mississippi, a lot of people think the blues, and they would be correct. Uh, you have the Delta blues. You have Hill Country blues, which is up around Oxford. In Bentonia, you have the Bentonia style blues, where the difference is the rhythm of the thumb. It's always ticking, and then the fingers are always moving, and it's a little more melodic than the Delta blues per se. And
Okay.
so right there, you have three different styles of the blues. And then all throughout Mississippi, we got rock and roll, Mississippi All Star. I mean, uh, Grits and Green is a great band from Hattiesburg. Tyler Tisdale is a independent country guy. I mean, there's great pockets of indie music all over the state. Alabama, you have Muscle Shoals, Florence, Huntsville. You have Birmingham. You have Mobile, where the Red Clay Strays and A Partridge are. Uh, I mean, this a ridiculous amount of talent right now in these twin states, and so there's all these little bubbles and pockets of. We're just talking about the art and music, and it's so unique. And I mean, I think that defines uh, who those pockets are, and it's defined by their art.
That's awesome. And what do you think about as far, I know you're like music is your thing, but what do you think about other art? Like me, I think I can be a better voice actor or a better painter by listening to good music. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Uh,
I mean, this room, I haven't hung a whole lot of it up yet, but Joe McGowan, um, he used to work at Mississippi State uh, in the biology department, and you'll still see his work in
I
books.
know who you're talking. I've
Uh,
seen some of his work. Yeah.
I mean, drawing insects, and then like some of his more trippy, or I mean, I've seen people describe it at art shows because our booths would be side by side. It's like that guy's art is just so psychedelic. He must do a lot of LSD. It's like he's actually sober. It's just he's just an odd guy. I
Big
mean,
man.
and so like the things that I love to see at Columbus and Starkville is the murals. Are you got these electric boxes? They're muraled out of just like small little things or whatever. And I mean, I think that says a lot about the community as well. The art that they have on their buildings, and the artists in town, of your poets, your plays. I'm just thankful that, and I don't know if it's just because I'm beginning to find it, but uh, the more I keep digging and looking for these creatives in the Golden Triangle area, is like, oh, there's a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah. TK Lee, Chris Lee over at the W. You may know him. I mean, he's a playwright and a great actor, and a poet. Has at least 2 volumes of poetry collections published. Like super artistic guy.
Hmm.
And but yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think art is so important, and I think it's important to connect with other artists, whether it's locally or abroad. I love to hear um, you know, someone from Great Britain talk about whatever, something artistic. It's just, I don't know. I think it
Mm-hmm.
enriches everybody. Yeah, books and music. I mean, that's great. You're the kind of people we like hanging out with, Mariah. I mean, that's
Yeah, but like I guess
pretty
to your
cool.
point, and I don't know if I answered it, but like when these like music and let's say an art piece, the point I was going to make about like the art on the wall is, man, when I'm sitting here at this table and I'm writing or I'm working on a guitar piece. I mean, a lot of times I'm looking at the art on the wall, and I mean, every now and then, I mean, it'll give you a, it's a breath of fresh air, or it's like, oh, that sends it, or you may find it in a book, like, when you and I talked on your episode on Porch Talk, like, uh, I may have read Shakespeare that day, and so like maybe I can pull off a Hamlet reference in this book, and even like I'll host these writer rounds sometimes, these songwriter rounds,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I'll challenge the people with, I want you to use the word bamboozled.
Nice.
What? I've I've never even used that in a sentence. I was like, put it in a song, or this week of who's your favorite poet, or who's your favorite philosopher. Pull something from them and tie it into your music. You
Interesting.
know.
I think it's a great exercise. So speaking of your music, you had sent me some lyrics the other day, and I don't know the title, but it starts with "Driving these winding roads."
Hmm.
Um,
It's
what?
untitled at the moment.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. So what is? I mean, I love reading something, and then if I have the person who wrote it, I love to be like, okay, what did you mean by that? Because that's so good. First of all, what is this about?
It's I mean,
And I mean,
it's an old girlfriend, and so like I had just so happened to be in a part of Alabama to where that was kind of our thing is we would ride these winding dirt roads late at night, and a lot of times I would, and I meant to mention that, and maybe I'll write it in later, just to see how the song works after the melody comes. But if the moon was bright that night, we would kill the headlights and just drive by moonlight, and we'd go out to this river or a creek bed and just listen to the water hit the rocks, and radio on. I mean, all those things are kind of mentioned there, and so that song was just an old memory. And like that tagline in that first line is every white Corolla, it could be you. That's the car that she used to drive.
interesting. Okay, all right. So then, let's see. What was another one? All right. We never could wear enough clothes to prevent human touch and nature. It boiled in our blood. What does that mean?
Sexual.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that was late late teens, early 20s, and I mean, we both had grown up Christian, and I tried to find a way to say it without saying it. Uh,
I think that's. I mean, obviously, this kind of subject matter is such as is common to man, but today it's like people have lost the the art of talking about such things with any sort of artistic flair. It's just
yeah,
like
I agree.
a lot of songs is like
It's kind of raunchy. I find it,
right. But I think you can talk about the same thing in a poetic way. Some of those old poems, Lord Byron and stuff like that. Some of those fellas and ladies were just as talked about the same subjects, and yet it's poetic, and there's an imagination to it instead of just like ugh.
yeah,
So anyway, I really like that.
yeah. That was fun to play with, man. I wish I like would have kept like all the scratch outs and erasing like when I finally hit that is the way, and I was like, and I also like to hear it said like that. I think it's captivating and it's interesting, and it may be like one of the lines that someone remembers.
Right. Do you have it pulled up, or do you have it memorized?
Yeah,
Could you read it like a
I can.
poem?
Yeah, I can pull it up for you.
Because I just think it's So good.
Let's see here. Driving these winding roads, fighting my intrusive thoughts, every white Corolla could be you. Do you ever think of me when you go where we used to meet? Your every reflection in this kaleidoscope. I have a fascination with kaleidoscopes.
Okay.
There's one at Munson's right now, yeah, and every time I go there, I might grab it and just be, looking through it, different things. But I remember when the winters were so cold, we never could wear enough clothes to prevent human touch, and nature it boiled in our blood. I heard your mother pass. People live in songs, is what she used to say. I hope she knows she'll live forever whenever the children sing along. And so that's legacy. And I mean that is it's honoring that great woman's memory. And I finally figured out a way to memorialize that, and that was important to me. Uh, I'm looking at the stars tonight. Even though we're apart, you used to tell me what you saw when you take a picture and connect the dots. That was just, uh, astronomy. Be like, oh, there's Orion's belt and all that. And like, if you and I were to step up right now and it was a clear night and you could point that out and be like, it's stars, buddy. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I don't see it. um, do you remember those winter nights, a witch's ring around the moon, the waves breaking against the rocks, two broken people piecing ourselves together? And then the song or the poem at the moment, it ends as it opened with driving these winding roads, listening to the radio, thinking that we were only children.
That is awesome. So have you put it to music yet, or how far are you along in the process?
I have the pattern figured out, like the chords that I'm going to use and the changes. Right now, I'm hung up on whether I'm going to finger pick it, and I like to finger pick it. I
Okay.
think that's going to be the way of even like maybe in the musical break, and then maybe strum or pick it up a little bit while I'm singing. I'm still messing with it. and that's the beauty of those open mics, right? Is when is a song finished, and that's when I know it's finished. Is and I've done it a lot. You go present a song to the crowd, and you got a 15 to 20 people. It was a little too cold outside, so we're inside. We're all stuffed in here in this intimate room, and I try to be sure to kind of make eye contact and just see if is it hitting home
Mm-hmm.
or did I miss? And now, granted, it's like uh, I don't I don't write songs for other people. I write for myself because like that's the difference in art and commerce. I think Ruben talks about that idea a lot. If you're doing something for yourself, that's art. If you're writing or making art for someone else, that's commerce. You're trying to sell something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I think it's lost its purity at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but I do like I pay attention. Like I can't wait to share that the human touch line and just kind of look out and kind of scan and see is how that registers.
Yeah, for sure. The tonight I mentioned was our dress rehearsal, and it's probably a little different with the lights being down, but as we've been rehearsing, talking at the wall for weeks now, and so to have it was a dress rehearsal with some invited guests, so there was a handful of people there, but even that was really nice as far as almost a little compass of where how are they responding to sort of the storyline and some of the jokes, some of the heavy parts, and that kind of thing. So
That the story I was sharing with you, like the play that we had rehearsed that we never got to perform, that was our last thing. Was we invited family, friends, or whomever wanted to come, and 10, 15 people, like you said, and that was just it. Like sticking the landing is. I remember some of the funny parts wasn't funny
right.
when we did it, and so, like, the director's cut. It's like, you got to make them laugh. It's like, this is it. This is your moment. It's like, okay, we got to buckle down here.
Right.
So, I mean, it's always good to have that small intimacy, and like, as goofy as it feels, man, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything goofier than that, is like just family and friends there, and it's rehearsal, and you're going to make a few mistakes and miss cues, and
Yeah.
it's just getting the bugs out.
Yeah, that's and to those listening, when we talked on your podcast the other night, he had mentioned that he was in a play and COVID, like they were about to start, and then COVID hit, and they didn't actually have a full run, which ended up being okay since you had recently hurt your knee, and that changed a lot of blocking and stuff. But
Yeah.
so I'm not musical. I have taken a classical voice the last couple of years, and I'm trying to change that, but I do not consider myself a musical person. So, and certainly not a composer. So when you're writing a song, do you ever come up with a tune before the lyrics, or is it like a certain way you do it, or is it different? How do you get a song? Like, how does a song come to where you're going to play it at an open mic or record it?
This is a great question, man, because each song is so unique in how it comes. I have guitar pieces that I've had for years, and I don't know if I'll ever have words to go with them. I've had like these. I've heard people refer to it as that lightning in the bottle, to where there was just something magic in those 5 minutes. You picked up a guitar, you hit a couple of chords, and then next thing you know, you can't write the words down fast enough,
Hmm.
and you have a song in 5 minutes, and you know it. And then here lately is the style or method that I've been on is it starts out as a poetry, and so if I'm at work, listening to a podcast, an audio book, or another band or songwriter, and if like an idea hits me, is like I try to pull over and pull out my notes on my phone and jot that idea down, and that idea will turn into a line, and then I'll start thinking about maybe other unfinished projects, and that's another thing too that I like. I've got 2 songs like this right now that I'm getting ready to see if they're ready, but uh, they were 3 songs that blended and made one. And so like that was an experience. I had never had that happen, to where, okay, these ideas are so close. I think the 3 ideas should be married, and like we got a finished product.
Yeah.
So I mean, each I mean, it's just like a book, or an art piece is. I think each one is unique and how it's done, and that was a big thing too, because the guys that the reason I started playing guitar was my best friend. He played "Proud Mary" by CCR at a talent show, and it just blew my hair back. And I went home that night and I told my grandma, I was like, I need a guitar. I've got to play guitar. I've got to. I got to play. She's like, okay. And then I picked up a guitar. I started hanging out with guitar players, and I found something real fast. These guys are a lot better than me. How can I separate myself from them? Ain't none of them ever wrote a song. I'm going to be a songwriter.
Okay.
It's like, so while you are covering other people's work, nothing wrong with that. I play my own songs. So I've got that. And that was always, and still to this day, is I'm not a great guitar player. I know I'm enough to be dangerous, and that is as far as it goes, but I can write a song.
Right. Interesting. So if somebody were not from this area, right,
Mhm.
and they're curious about it, like curious about the culture of the Deep South, and that kind of thing, what are something that you would say to a traveler passing through that was going to stop in Columbus for the weekend, let's say, or a night or something, and not that you can not that you need this to, be in Columbus to do this, but what kind of food would you recommend to them?
I'll go to Huck's.
What's an author that you would recommend to understand the South, and what's a music group? And you don't have to limit yourself to one, but what would you introduce this area to an outsider?
If I was in Columbus, I would say go get you a steak at Huck's. If you're into that, if you're not a meat guy, they've got other options as well. But it's my favorite restaurant in Columbus. After that, go get you some beers at Munson Brothers. There'll be live music Friday night. You can check that out, so you can kind of get a taste of what the local flavor is when it comes to music. Oh man, I would be ashamed of myself, but I don't really have a local or author right now. And what's crazy is I just saw the mayor of Columbus shared a post about a local author who wrote a song about Columbus calling it Possum Town, and I cannot place the guy's name. But I think that would be a great start for it. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Let's see here.
One thing I would say is, the playwright Tennessee Williams is from Columbus. So if you're from out of town, he wrote Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and, Streetcar Named Desire, Elizabeth Taylor, Paul Newman. That guy's from Columbus. That's where we're from. And
Pruitt.
Okay.
It's called Mr. Pruitt's Possum Town: Photographing Trouble, Resilience in the American South. So I think that would be a pretty good start.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So he will actually be in town the 26th. Looks like he's going to go to Friendly City Books downtown.
Okay. That's a great little indie bookshop also. If you're in,
especially considering that Books A Million is no more in the mall, and so other than going to Barnes and Nobles on Mississippi State campus, where else are you going to go to get a book or a recommendation, right?
Yep.
There's nowhere else.
Yeah. And plus I'm big with, I don't boycott the box chain type of things, but I shop at them as little as I can. I would much rather buy a book from Friendly City Books than, a big place. And it's just a great little bookstore. And it's right across the street from Fifth Street
Coffee shop.
Go get you a book, walk across the street, get you some coffee, sit down, or walk down the hill to Munson, whatever.
Yeah, dude, I'm so impressed with Emily. Before she came back to Columbus, she was in Washington, D.C. in politics.
Yeah.
And when she had finally had her fill, like she moved back here to start that business. And just hearing her heart and her desire, and like you only got to take a foot or two inside that business to see like the vision and her idea of what Friendly City Books should be and the culture that she's bringing to downtown. It's all there. And you have the author spotlight, and these are local Mississippi authors who are doing big things. And I think they have a podcast now, and they interview these authors. And so that's another great plug for this area.
Yep, absolutely. And they're always having book signings with artists coming through.
I'd recommend C.T. Salazar. He's a great poet from Columbus.
Okay.
I've got Southern Guts.
Yeah, he's from the town. I was born a few hundred yards from his house. Where he
That's
grew
one
up.
of the if you take the downtown exit into Columbus, that's one of the first things that'll catch your eye.
Yep. Beautiful, Victorian little style house or whatever. I really like it.
But overall, like with the South, like to that music is I gotta say probably one of my favorite bands is Drive-By Truckers.
Okay.
And if you wanted to get a feel from where I'm from in West Alabama, they'll play a show once or twice a year, but the Dexiteens.
Okay.
And the song I would look up would probably be The Naked Ground. But that's those two bands are all-time favorites. Drive-By Truckers for years was the hardest working band in the land. Those guys were all from Alabama. They wound up in Athens, Georgia, college town, and that's where they really got their start. And now, I mean, national and international touring, more tour dates than most bands. I mean, they're Patterson Hood is one of the hardest working guys in the music, and a great songwriter. I've got a lot of respect for him.
So if somebody is interested in writing, they're kind of like, maybe they play guitar, ukulele, or a piano or something like that, and they're kind of like, you know what, that is a good way of separating myself, writing my own songs. I do all these covers. You look on TikTok and everybody's covering something, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be some amazingly talented people, and yet they don't have anything of their own. They're playing other people's stuff. What do you like? What kind of wisdom would you have for somebody that's like, that's a good point, I should try to do that? How do you direct them?
Man, like, just Nike, just do it. But also, like, whoever inspires you. Like, I like Jason Isbell. He was a member of the Drive By Truckers, and now it's Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. I love his work. Early James, he inspires me. He's from Birmingham, Alabama. And so a lot of times when an idea will come, I heard it probably in one of their songs. And so, well, then I'm beginning to learn their play style. And then the two play styles begin to blend. And I'm seeing that I'm developing my own little play style that I got from all these different people that inspire me. And that's one thing that I began to notice about myself is, well, I can't do that style as well as they can. Yeah, no crap, dude, because they're them and you're you. And so, like, whatever that is that you can draw from them, that inspiration, now put it in that melting pot with your fingers and what you got going on. And that's who you are as a player. And you can continue to adapt and evolve over the years. And when it comes to writing, man, be silly at first. I mean, it doesn't matter. You play if you're playing for yourself in the bedroom, man, like, think of someone that you love, or maybe a loved one that's passed on, and or maybe it's an animal, your dog, your cat, and just be a little goofy or silly, or you can be as serious as you want to, and just write and write and write. And it's okay if it ain't the traditional Nashville way to where it's verse, chorus. You don't have to do that. Sometimes I'll do chorus, bridge, verse, bridge, bridge, verse. You can do it however you. There's no rules.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of thing that people really get tied up on, man. Like some of these open mics, I used to go play at the one in Tupelo quite a bit, and there were these younger guys, and I mean that was one thing that I noticed when they were sharing, their songs that they had written, and it's no hate to those guys at all, but everything was very cookie cuttered. And
Mm-hmm.
when we got to knowing each other and exchanged information and was talking about the craft, like that was one thing that I mentioned. I was like, I think you got a lot in the tank, but I mean, you keep going back to the same well.
Yeah.
It's like there's other places you can go. By all means, I mean, I wouldn't have told you this unless I consider you to be a friend, or I wouldn't have told you what I thought. I'd be like, yeah, dude, sounds great. Keep going. You're not
Right.
gonna get anywhere, but keep going. I'm trying to give you some critique, and maybe this will help you to the next level, or maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. You know?
Yeah, kind of like a poet that has the same exact rhyme and meter for every single poem they write. It's kind of
Oh,
like
and
that.
that's a
Even if
mhm.
the subject's great, it's kind of like, that's kind of boring. Why don't you change it up a little bit?
Oh yeah, even in that song right there, like, and I mean that's a comment of one of my songwriting buddies in Memphis. He was like, "I love how you don't always feel like you have to rhyme," and I was like, "You don't. Who
Yeah.
said you did?" Especially like when the melody gets going. Yeah, you kind of need to stay on the melody a little bit, but like it ain't got to be car and mar and bar. I mean, you ain't got to do
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, n- straight to Nike, man. Just do it and just keep. I'm a big proponent of the 10,000 hour of rule, and like whether you buy that or not, that's fine. But if you do anything, if you spent an hour of your time a day doing the same thing, you're eventually going to get really good at it,
Yeah.
and every day. And like, there's another thing when it comes to guitar playing or songwriting, you're going to have plateaus of, you're going to feel like you're in a rut, probably because you are, and that is totally normal. And what I found, one of the best ways to get out of those ruts is quit listening to the same music that you're listening to. Change it up.
Interesting.
Go to a different genre. Try to find something new, something, and next thing you know, man, you're sparked, and like, you're hitting a new gear now. And like, it's almost like, maybe you've been working on this 3-track EP, and man, you just cannot figure out, like, man, everything is just the same. Change gears, man. Go to a different genre. If you're listening to too much rock and roll, man, maybe you need to step back and maybe listen to Merle Haggard for a little while.
Interesting. I like that because I think that you can get you can get a lot from people that you have almost nothing in common with other than a creative sort of a spark. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes, I mean, that's why I like to go and meet artistic people. You mean like yourself? I am not a musician. I don't play
Hmm.
guitar, but you inspire me so much with your creativity, and I feel like that I could learn something from you that would make me better at what I'm creative at. I just think that's really cool.
Oh man, just back to Joe McGowan for a second. He's got this place out in Sessom. It's called the McGowan Art Retreat. They call it Mars for short, and it is just that. So they've recently had this cabin, and they have other projects that they're building on the property. It's got this beautiful pond right in the center of it. These beautiful cabins all around. You've got one art gallery is complete, full of like Joe's workshop and
Interesting.
all of his art, and then they're building this other one for workshops. And so let's say that we were doing a songwriter workshop, or we're doing an artist workshop, or a poet, or like, it's a full moon, so they're going to build a fire, and everyone's going to bring a drum or a bucket, and we're all going to sit out there and beat on some drums, whatever. And so, I mean, but there's something about that place, and that's another thing, man. Like, I like going there because it almost feels like there's something in the water. Right when you get out of your vehicle and you walk on that property, you just feel creative.
Hmm.
I feel that way about the Knoxville County Refuge.
Yeah,
I go out there about twice a week, and just walk around. I'm in nature, right? I think there is something too. Like, you don't have to take your shoes off and be a complete hippie, but I do believe in that grounding and getting out of the concrete jungle, so to speak, and just, it's good to be out in the woods in the middle of nowhere, not surrounded by anybody. And if you want to yell at a rock or a tree, whatever you need to do to get it out, do it.
I agree with that 100%. And I love the refuge. Like that's I've been over. I love that. That's really
Hmm.
cool. So, tell us, kind of wrapping up here. Tell us where we can find you, follow you, hear more of your work,
Oh, I've got
that kind of thing.
YouTube is a great place if you want to hear like their bedroom takes of most of my songs that are available. So if you go to Porch Talk on YouTube, of the podcasts that I've done that have a video to it, you can find all those there. I recommend all of them. And then the audio side of Porch Talk, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. I've over 560 episodes now. I've I wouldn't have put them up if I wasn't proud of them. And it could be talking to a creative person like yourself that you inspire me as well, man. And I'm so excited and happy, that we met, and I mean that we're collaborating like this. Uh, to maybe it's me and a guy I grew up with, and we're just trying to figure out what in the world is going on,
Yeah,
and just asking questions and making jokes and just trying to make light of everything. So there's that. I have a mastered produced single of a song of mine. It's on Apple Music. It's Spotify, wherever you get it. You can search my name. The song is called Georgia. It's I think we have decided to call it Ghoul Folk. it's kind of haunting.
Okay.
And so the opening is real slow, like just one note at a time, and then full chords coming in, and then like it's just kind of got this haunting thing going on to it, and I was really attached to that. And usually we'll get done with a recording like that, and I'll sit on it for a month or two, and then I'll just put it in a file on a thumb drive. And I was like, no one's gonna hear that. But it was one of those pull the trigger, walk away, don't look at it, just see what happens. And so I was completely pleased, and I was also a little surprised with the turnout. I mean, I think people did enjoy it. And this year, I plan to share more songs, and they'll be in different styles and genres. And uh, I'm excited about that too. If you ever find yourself in Columbus, I host an open mic. I think in March we're going to move it to every first and third Thursday, and so that's 7 to 10 p.m. I open it up and I close it with my band. So I go up solo, and then we do a big close at the end with. And when I say my band, it's just whoever is still there that wants to get up on stage and act a fool with me.
That's cool. I need to come out to that sometime. I
Yeah,
hadn't
man,
usually
it's a
I
ball.
go up in the afternoon if I ever go, but I hadn't really been to a live before, so I look forward to that. Also, the things that he just mentioned should be linked in the description of wherever you're seeing this. My little audio keeps kicking out, and it ticks me off. All right. Okay, I think we're
Oh, and Porch Fest this year, April
yeah, yeah,
12th,
yeah.
13th, Columbus, Mississippi. It's at Munson Brothers. Please come. Friday is 5 to 10. Saturday is from noon till we get finished. There's going to be music. There's going to be, I hope, live art. What I mean by that, we'll have an artist drawing whoever is on stage doing their thing, and then we're going to have comedy. I have 4 Philadelphia, Pennsylvania comics. I'm flying them down, and I was like, we ain't got no comedy scene down here. Could you bring
Yeah,
it? And so
yeah.
they was like, oh yeah, we can. And I was like, let's roll. So if you've never been to a comedy show, don't wear your heart on your sleeve. Uh, you might get made fun of.
Nice. Well, that sounds like a great time. And man, thank you so much for coming on. You
Yeah, thank
inspire
you,
me.
Jake.
And man, good stuff. Definitely, if you're catching the replay on this or what have you, go check out his stuff. He's got some great conversations with just a multitude of creatives on Porch Talk podcast. Really good stuff, and including yours truly. So
Yeah.
that was
Latest
a
one.
fun time. I enjoyed the conversation the other night, and so Mariah, thanks for listening, hanging around.
You made it.
You be good. She made it. She made it to the end. Good job. And but Alan, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, man. Let's do it again sometime.
Let's do it.
All right. See ya.